Hi everybody, welcome to another beginner tutorial by Ben Vost for Lightwave Digital. Today we're going to be concentrating on things for Environment Day, so I'm going to show you how to animate a fish, the starter motions for animating a fish. I'll show you here. This is the example. So I'm going to use depth of field, I'm going to use fog, I'm going to use some IK, and a little bit of just general animation. Oh, and particles as well. I'm going to load up our object, which is going to be a mecha fish that was made for the Lightwave 11 content, so it should look familiar to some of you. All I want to do is add some bones to it, so I'm going to choose my object correctly, body, and I'm going to go into bounding box mode because all I need to see is the extents. So let's add a bone to this object, bone, and for our purposes here it's going to come in the wrong way around. So what we want to do is just change it to be 180 degrees, 180, and then what we also want to do is make sure it's big enough to fill up the whole box, and I'm going to do that with a tool called tip move, which will allow us to just take the tip of the bone and balance it along here, boom, like so. Go back into translate and full length there. A single bone is no good, so we need to split it. We'll split it using the left mouse button to move this slider up, but what I want to do is hit the right mouse button to split and do the same again to make 4 bones. Now, if we go into rotation mode, then these bones aren't going to do anything to our fish yet because they are not active. If I press R on the keyboard now, that's lowercase r, don't need to do anything, that now makes them active. And these bones will affect the geometry for this bounding box, as you see here. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but that's because it's just a bounding box. So let's change it back to texture shaded solid so you can see what's happening. And I'll move that to about there, a bit less, about there. And then I'll go to frame 10. And I'll do the same in the other direction. Okay, so it's like a dog wagging its tail more than a fish swimming, but you can change the timing for all of these animation events so that you actually get a more sinusoidal kind of movement. But I'm just showing you the basics here, you do that yourself. Okay, so now what we need to do is, rather than having to do this over and over again, I'm just going to hit the E button here to go into the graph editor. I want to get all of the bones in my object because there's only one here, there's only bone 4 here. So I need to go in and do get layout selected or shift G. And now there are loads of things in here, so I need to filter down my channels. I'll press W or go in here and press W and just change this to star dot capital H. Lowercase h won't work. That gives me my 4 bones. There. Okay. Right, so now I have my 4 bones all done. I'm going to select them all. I'm going to hit A to get them all in there. And I'm going to take my bones and I'm going to say the post behavior is oscillate. That gives us this sawtooth kind of curve, which is kind of ugly. So I'm going to change the tension up to 1, which is what we want. So now I have my fish swinging its tail all throughout the animation, which is fantastic. Now what I need to do is to see what's going on. So I'm going to split the viewport in 2 by pressing F4. You can also do it pressing this button up here. By doing so, you can have a top view and also, say, the camera view. So I'm going to make this one the camera view. So we can see our fish is swimming away from us. What we want to do, that's moving the bones, but what I want to do is the body. I'm going to move the body of the fish up over there for the time being. Still in view, yeah, okay, good. And then at the end frame, I want to put it somewhere down around here, maybe. We'll see better. And then, oh, that's not enough frames. So let's change that to 450. And then let me select that frame. Let me select that frame and drag it all the way up to 450. There we go. So now we've got our fish and it's swimming very slowly back arsewards towards the camera. But around about here, I feel, I'm going to have it take a turn. So it's going to go like that. Now, the fish is still swimming the wrong way. I mean, it's the right way if I'm doing this, but it's the wrong way if I'm doing that. So we need to change that. What we're going to do is press M for motion options. And to be honest, I can't even remember where it is on the thing, but it's up there somewhere. You can always press Control Space to get motion options. And in the Controllers and Limits tab, in the Rotation tab, I want to go for a heading controller, and I want it to be aligned to path. At this point, we can see that our fish is actually swimming along the path I set for it. It's a bit violent, but there you go. That's fine. When we're here, I think we need it to be a bit more off screen. Like that, and I think we need it to be a bit further away. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, good. That's fine. Right, so we have our scene, so let's save it just to be sure. Just save a fish 2, that's fine. Just so you can see what I'm doing and just to make sure that you have saved your work. It's always important. Now let's get in particles. So I'm going to set up a new particle emitter called particles, not to be confounded with particle, and I'm pressing P for my properties panel, and I'm going to add an FX emitter. That gives us a meter cube, but we want something a bit bigger. So we're going to go 30 meters wide, 5 meters tall, and 6 meters deep. That should be large enough. We'll set the particle limit to 12,000. That's a bit more like it. And we'll set the particle lifetime in the second tab to 120. What this gives us now is a load of particles that are swimming along with our fish, but they're just appearing, so that's no good. So what we want to do is make sure that they have got some motion. So I'm going to just set the gravity to being 1. And that's possibly a bit much. Let's set it 2.5. That's a bit more staid. Okay, we can change the motion in other ways, but I think what's going to make the difference is the fact that we've got our particle emitter, and I think what we're going to do is go to -30 on the timeline, and we're going to set our particle emitter up there, and we're going to move this as far as we can. Which way? This way. We just don't want it to be visible at the edge. Up, too much, that's enough. And then at the end of our scene, we want it to be quite reverse. We want it to go this way to the same effect. Up. There we are. So now what we have is more of a running stream with the particles, which might be small fish as well, just moving around gently. This fish is swimming gamely against the tide, and then it's hurrying along with it. Okay, that's good. Right, the only trouble is we can't see our particles. They don't turn up in the render. And that's because particles are just points in space, literally just points. They have no size. So what we're going to do is create an instancer. We'll come in here. And do you remember that particle object that we chose? We're going to add that. And we're going to come in here and do particles. And now what we should get is a whole load of particles in this. There we go, in this window. So these are far too big, so let's just change them to make them smaller. Like that. And we also don't want to see that original particle that's in there, so we'll just turn it off from render. We still need it in our scene. Alright, so we still have a couple of things to deal with. The first is that we seem to be floating in the sky, and what we want is to be floating in the sea. So I'm just going to hit Control F5 to bring up my backdrop, and I'm going to just choose the colours from over here in the scene I made earlier for you. And then over here, and then over here, and over here. Like that. That's a bit more interesting looking. So now we have our fish, and although we can't really easily see it like this, we can actually do a render later on, and you'll see that we've got our particles moving nicely. The last thing we want to do, well, maybe before last. Okay, before last it's going to be, let's have the jaws of this beast working. So let's change this to jaw, and we'll go in and zoom in on this jaw, but let's see it from perspective view so that we can see it working. Okay, that's better. For jaw, we're going to go into the motion options again, and we're going to go into rotation, hit M, and we're going to set it of what we want, and we're going to set the minimum to 0 and the maximum to 35. Now I know this because I've done this before, so I don't expect you to remember it, and honestly all it does is it gives you, come on, Godlig here, like this. Okay, so what we want to do is, let's delete that keyframe for this beast, and now that this is done, we're going to go into the envelope here, and we're going to set this as a noisy channel. We've done this before, so add modifier, noisy channel. That's probably a little bit too Sid Vicious. Yeah. So let's slow that down a bit. We'll go speed down to 0.2. And now, of course, we can't see it. There you go. That's good enough for our purposes. Right, so our next problem is that we need to make sure that we have some fog in here, and also that our camera has depth of field attached. Okay, so let's start with fog, and we'll just press Control P for that, and we'll do non-linear fog, and we'll set our minimum fog distance. Let's have a look overhead. and we can see that's a meter, 2 meters. So we can say a meter as the minimum distance. And for the maximum distance, I think we want probably 6. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7. No, leave it as it is. Minimum amount I'll set at 0. Minimum amount I'll set at 0, but maximum amount I'll set at 90. And the color I want for it, I don't want this white. What I want to choose, do here, pick from screen, and I'll choose this dark blue. So that gives us a tone to our fish already. And when it's further away, you'll see that it goes almost black. It's just the dark colour of that colour I chose for the fog. So now we've got our fish in the fog. Let's change our camera properties so that we have some depth of field going on. So we'll come in here, camera, properties, and depth of field. We're going to turn on depth of field, and the first thing we're going to do, bizarrely, is going to set it to 0. It can't do 0, so it's going to do 100 micrometers, but that's okay. That's what we want for the time being. Next, we're going to add a null, and we're going to call it doff, because we can. And for this null, we want to set its parenting. We turn off parent in place, make sure that's off. Parent in place is off. And M, and we're going to choose its parent item, and we're going to choose the camera. Then what we're going to do is, in the position, we're going to turn off X and Y, because we only want to move it in the Z. Okay? So let's just change that. And lastly, what we're going to do is change the envelope to match this null that we've just made. So what we're going to do is add proximity, and we double click on there, and we set the item we want self, so the camera, and the target we want the doff particle, doff null. So there it is. And let's get down to kind of towards the end of the scene. So we've got the fish swimming across. Too far. Like that. Right now we can't see anything because our camera's f-stop is still at 4, so it should still have some depth to it, but let's just really cheat and set it down to 0.85, and that's going to make it really crazy difficult to see. But that's because at the moment our focus is where our null is, and that's right on the camera. So what I want to do is just move it over towards the fish, and as we move it closer, you see that the fish comes into focus. And you can also see this in OpenGL, because you can turn on motion blur preview like that. So as we move the null away, you see that the item gets more and more out of focus. So we'll have the focus there for the moment. For then, in fact, let's close all of these. Okay, so for here, I think when the camera goes out of shot, I think the focus probably wants to go back to that particle that's obstinately not disappearing. So we'll go there. And then before it, at the start of our scene, so at 0, I think we don't know where the fish is yet. Perhaps it's an automatic sensor, so we're just going deep in there, and you can see that there's something. So then once the fish gets nearer, maybe we follow it. A bit. want to stay there maybe a bit more. And then it kind of wants a snap pull back to there. Maybe a bit too far. And then back again. So now we can press play. Now there's all sorts of things you can do to make this scene a bit more interesting and more realistic, but for the time being this is just a quick demo to show you in 23 minutes how you can create a fish and bring it in, put some depth of field on, have some particles swimming and create a scene for Environment Day. Thank you for watching this far. I hope you enjoyed the video. If not, you've got the mecha fish to play with. Okay, I will speak to you soon. Bye for now.